There's a particular story which is very much engraved in my memory. And this is the story of our eating matzahs on Pesach. Of course, there were no matzahs. But one day, a transport from Plaszow, from Krakow, came to our camp with Jews, and among them was a little bit elderly Hasidic Jew. His name was Akiva Goldstoff. He was known in Krakow by many people. And of course, when it came before Pesach, he tried, and together with me, I went to our German boss of the factory, and I asked him for permission to bake matzahs. He was very astonished. I remember when I came in and I put forth my request, he says, "Hast du wirklich keine andere Sorge? Don't you really have any other worries? I mean, the matzah, you need matzahs." Anyway, but it so happened that he was a little bit of a kinder man, and he said, "Okay, it's all right." As a matter of fact, he even helped me to get the flour for the matzahs. My wife baked the matzahs, we had the matzahs, but something very strange happened on Pesach morning in our Jewish barrack where we ate. It was Pesach morning, and he came in lunchtime, and he noticed that a few people were sitting at the edge of the table and eating our matzahs. Now, although he was the one that allowed us to do it, he became like angry. And then he started shouting, and he said, "What are you doing? This is no food." He said, "This is no nourishment. Why don't you eat bread?" I remember he even shouted, "Der Friedensohn, fress Brot, eat bread." He said, "Du stirbst, you'll die." And then he said, "By the way, God forsake you, and you are still loyal to him? You still owe him something? You still have to eat matzahs because it's written in the Bible?" Of course, to an extent he was right, wasn't he? And then, while we didn't answer and we were speechless, he turned to Goldstoff, whom he knew, and whom he suspected he was the organizer of this whole. And he went over and he said, "Goldstoff," he said, "you are a little older, more reasonable. Tell me, didn't God forsake you?" In the beginning, Goldstoff didn't answer immediately. And he said, "Please tell me, God forsake you, or you owe him something. You have to eat matzahs." It took a while. And then Goldstoff said, "Sir, yes, God did forsake us, but I want you to know, not totally and not forever." It's very interesting that we probably, or I myself, didn't even notice the impression that it made on me. But it seems that this German himself was very impressed. And it so happened that a few months later, this was only the last Pesach I was in that camp, we were told, or we heard, that they are about to send us to Auschwitz. They're about to dissolve the camp, which they really did just a few days later. And I remember that I discussed it with this German guy. And it seems that he did not forget. For him, this was very, he told me, he said, "Friedensohn," he said, "don't lose hope." He said, "Don't you remember what Goldstoff said on Passover? Is that what he said? He said, not totally and not forever. It's very interesting that even this German noticed the emunah of that Jew. And he, in order to console me, he repeated to me the story which I had almost forgotten.